What's up, y'all? This is Ed Lover. Welcome to another episode of Come On, Son, the podcast. I got a special guest, but before I get to my special guest today, I got a few things on my chest that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is we keep jumping out the window as black people. Why are we jumping out the window when we really don't know what's going on? Everybody saw the video of the girl who got hit in the face with the brick who was talking about, I never did nothing to nobody. And she claims that it was because she didn't want to give a guy her phone number, that he hit her in the face with a brick and other men were standing around and didn't do nothing. So now we're back on this protect black women thing again. And of course, I got sisters, and I got one sister, and I got 4 daughters, and I got a mother, and I got aunties. And of course, I want to protect black women, right? But we also saw the video of her allegedly slapping a white dude that was staged. So how do we know that she ain't staging this? All I'm saying is, let's stop jumping out the window before we know what's going on. And the Erica Mena Spice thing from Love and Hip Hop. Come on, son. We know Love and Hip Hop is a soap opera. By this point, y'all have to know that it's not real. If you think that they threw Erica Mena off the show just not to bring her back on the show later on to cause some kind of drama and controversy, then you're dumber than you look. You're jumping out the window on that. Spice, she called Spice a monkey. That's a racial slur. She said Spice looked like a blue monkey. It don't matter. She can't say that. It's all staged, and you keep falling for it. You keep jumping out the damn window on everything. Wake up, black people. Come on, son. Now let me get to my guest. My guest is a world traveler. She's been to over 89 countries. First of all, I can't even name 89 countries. That's number one. Number two, she's an attorney. She has a book out, and we're going to talk about the book. She's been in the business and all over the place, and I am lucky enough to say that she's a friend of mine. The fabulous Miss Lisa Bonner is here. What's up, Lisa?
What's up, Ed? How are you?
89 countries?
89 countries. I'm about to go to 4 more before the year is over, and it's September.
You're going to 4 countries before September's over?
4 more new countries
all right,
before the year is over.
Which new countries are you going to?
South Korea, Tibet, Bhutan. So maybe it's only 3. Oh, and Rwanda before the year.
And you've never been there before?
Never.
Tibet was never on the list of just.
These are 89 different countries I've been to, and that's how I keep track. There's an app called BEN, B-E-E-N, and you can just go there and you can download it and you can just check all the countries that you've been to. That's how I know how many I've been to.
What made you want to go to all of these countries? What made you become such a world traveler?
I don't know. I guess I got it honestly from my dad. My dad had wanderlust. He was in the service. He just had it. When he retired from working, he was in South Africa, teaching kids English as a second language. He was just kind of all over the place. So I think part of it is the fact that I got it honestly. Second,
were you a military brat?
Well, my brothers were more so than me because
Okay.
I came along 6 years after my youngest brother. So, and my parents were divorced between them. It's
Wait a minute.
Between me, I'm a child of a second marriage.
You would get back together,
yes,
baby?
Yes, I am a child of a second.
So your parents divorced.
Yeah.
How many of y'all were there?
It's 3. We're all the same parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got 2 older brothers.
2 older brothers.
So your parents divorced after the second brother.
Yes.
I ain't got nothing else to do with you. That's it.
That's it.
They hooked back up. Mama got pregnant.
Yep.
Got back together.
No, they hooked back up, got remarried. Now, my brothers used to always try and tease me.
They got remarried.
They got remarried. I was a product of a second marriage. It's so funny because there was, the show Blackish. On the first season of Blackish, there was a episode that was entitled Bastard Child. And it was basically the oldest, Zoe, found out that her parents she was born before her parents were married.
Right.
And it was this big thing because her brothers were, her family was teasing her and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm friends with Kenya Barris, the executive producer and writer and creator. So I told Kenya, I said, I feel like y'all were looking into my life because this is literally my whole life. When I was younger, my brother's you're the bastard child. Only reason our parents got back together is because you were an oops baby and all this stuff. And my mom was like, that's not right. That's not right. But But
No,
yes.
they had already got married before.
They did, but they tried to lie. Of course,
you.
they were trying to lie to me the whole time. Like, I was,
Yeah, it's like me telling my sister she was adopted. Because it's 3 boys, and it's her. And I always tell her, you messed the family up. We found you outside somewhere.
That's right. They used to tell me that, too.
Sister.
They told me they found me by the side of the road.
Yeah, all the good
that stuff. So, yeah, I
back
was
of a Walmart or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you tell the baby sister in order to just keep her under thumb. That's
right.
What you got to do.
And so, so part of it was, genetics, I think, and the rest of it was just...
How long did your parents stay divorced before they got back together?
I would say maybe about... That's a good question. I need to ask my mom. Maybe about, 3 or 4 years. They were
really.
Yeah, they were like divorced, like straight up.
I don't want nothing else to do with you. Yep. Your mother had the boys.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you ever ask them what made them get back together?
Yeah, I did. My mom was like, "Well, your dad had changed." I was like, "This man ain't changing." Like, I mean, now my dad was a great dad. Let me just.
Right.
But listen, whatever it was, y'all got divorced the first time was why y'all got divorced the second time, and they stayed divorced after that.
Right.
Then my dad got remarried once again, and that was a whole disaster. And then he never got remarried again.
Okay, so your father been married twice, 3 times.
3 times technically,
but twice to your mother, and once to somebody else.
Yeah.
And he was like,
He's like done.
He's just not good at it.
No, and then he never had another girlfriend after that.
Right.
And he used to frequent Rio is all I will say.
So Pops was just outside.
He was just outside.
After
Pops was outside. He was like, I am done. I'm done. And
it's
then
3 marriages and 2 women.
Yes, and he was done. And there were his trips to Rio after that were his.
Yeah.
That's where
he was going wherever he needed to go to do what he needed to do.
That's
to keep himself happy.
That is correct.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that is where you get the wanderlust from.
Exactly.
That's where you get it from.
Exactly.
Your parents being apart, then they got back together and was like, oh, let's have another baby. And then here you come, and then Pops is in the military, he's traveling, and then he retires and he keeps traveling, and that's where you get it from.
Yeah, and my grandparents were travelers, to the extent that, that Black people traveled back in the day. And I just... and another thing that I learned, this is funny. Okay, so when I was in high school, I'm dating myself, but my junior or senior year, the group Duran Duran.
Yeah.
I used to be the biggest Duran Duran.
Hungry
fan.
like a wolf,
my
Duran
God.
Duran.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that video was filmed in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
And
did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it was really funny because that, a little girl in landlocked St. Louis growing up, I was like, oh my God, look at all the beautiful scenery. Look at all this. So that video really inspired my love of nature. I'm a Cancer, so I'm a water baby. And I was like, this is amazing. And so I was like, there's so much world out there. I hadn't seen. And this is, this is different now because kids these days have been everywhere. They've seen everything. But we didn't have the internet. We had encyclopedias. We didn't have all this stuff. So that really was the real big impetus for really me wanting to travel and see the world. So say maybe about 2014, 2015, somewhere around there, I went to Sri Lanka and bombed.
That was your first trip?
To Sri Lanka.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And photobombed my way through the Duran Duran video.
You
and
did?
Wrote about it on, for Yahoo Travel. You can probably still find all my travel docs online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I wrote about it on Yahoo Travel. My editor was like, this would make a great, because I was telling her the story. I was always wanting to go to Sri Lanka.
Right.
Because of that. And then, and then she was like, oh, and all the, the statues and all the parks and the beach, most of those were from various UNESCO heritage sites.
Mm-hmm.
So... And we were just going to see the UNESCO heritage sites, and then I was like, "Oh my God, this is we're half the video."
This is the straight
it's crazy.
Video for Hungry Like a Wolf.
Yeah,
I remember
straight
this.
up. Mm-hmm. So now you look at it through different lenses.
Yeah, you absolutely do. When you travel, do you mostly travel by yourself or?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do solo trips. Most of the time I travel with other people. On my first solo trip in 2010. When nobody was really solo traveling, I met a couple from Rio. 2 guys, they're married, and they are fantastic. And I met them, and we have been really good friends ever since. And we have traveled the entire world together. They'll go places with me that my Black friends won't go. They just went. I was like, let's go to Sri Lanka. They were like, okay.
Are there places that Black people just really kind of
They're like,
nah?
Try and get a Black person to go with you to Bhutan. You might find one.
Where is Bhutan?
Exactly. It's
Where
in the
is it?
Himalayas.
In the Himalayas?
It's in
No,
the
I'm not
Himalayas.
going there. I'm
Exactly.
that's cold.
Exactly. I was at, where was I? At ColorCom, and a bunch of us were sitting there afterwards, and like, Star Jones and a bunch of other people, like we were all sitting there, and she was like, I am not going to no Bhutan. I was like, why? It's like fantastic. Don't you want to climb to the bird's nest? She was like, I am not doing that. So I do a lot of stuff like that traditionally we don't do.
Right.
I'm a scuba diver, and people be like, what the hell
For real?
are you doing down 80
Did
feet?
you just see that what happened?
See how we
submarine?
doing?
That's what black people do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not
No,
doing
listen,
that.
I'm not going down to the depths of of
What
the
are you
bottom of the
swimming
ocean.
amongst, though? Would you
Sharks?
Nah, I'm not doing
See?
that. I'm not doing it.
Come on, son.
To me, because I'm not doing it.
Come
First of
on,
all,
son.
I'm deathly afraid of deep water.
You could go.
I
scuba
won't
diving
even
in 30
sit. I
feet.
won't even sit out on the balconies on a cruise ship
You are
right over the
crazy.
water. I won't do it. I'm scared.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why you have to have. Well, not why, but that's one of the many benefits of having friends of other cultures.
Right, but I know I'm gonna panic.
Right.
You didn't panic the first time you tried to scuba dive?
The first time, very, very, very long ago in 1997, absolutely I panicked because when I was learning to dive, there was like the worst time. It was in Aruba, and when the seas are really rough, it's like around March, April, like the seas. And so the 10-foot wave came and damn near swallowed me under. I was like, I am not getting back on there. I'm not going underwater. So I shelved it for about, I would say maybe 15 years or so. And then I was like, one time I was in St. Lucia, and there's a thing called Scuba, and you're tethered to the boat with like a 100-foot, tether to the boat, and you can just kind of go down 30 feet. But you have a tank on your back, but it's not. And I was like, this is great. It's not like exactly like scuba diving because
you're connected to the boat.
And that's where your air source comes from, and that's just all that kind of stuff. So I was like, this is pretty dope. So I tried it again after that, and I was like, I'm hooked. Yeah. It's great.
Scuba dive.
I'm a scuba diver.
You're not afraid of what's surrounding you, sharks and other deep sea
I'm more afraid
mammals?
of the water than I am of the animals underwater.
Why?
Like, for sure. Because like the last time I went, like there was something wrong with my mask. And then water just like I lost about 600 PSI, and it all like ran into my face and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, that's why I don't ever stray too far from the dive instructor. Now, I'm not crazy. I might be adventurous, but I am not crazy, okay? I'm just not. So all this water started rushing into my mask, and I'm like, okay, like, how do I do this?
Right.
And, they had to, I had to switch regs under, and we were like at 80 feet deep. So I had to like get his octopus and switch regs and, put his regulator in my mouth. But I'm, if you panic or if I inhale like that, I'm
dead.
I'm dead because I'm too much water. So I was like, yo, like, I don't know how to do this, but I did it twice. I had to switch regs twice underneath.
And 80 feet of water? What do you think is the most beautiful thing that you say you saw scuba diving?
Oh my gosh. Like, I would say manta rays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I would say whale sharks. Like, the kind they have up here at the aquarium, the Georgia Aquarium. If y'all haven't been to the aquarium, you go.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's amazing. But the whale sharks are like, oh my God, they're huge. And they're just beautiful, just majestic creatures. They're just amazing, just beautiful.
And they really not paying any attention to you at all.
They're not messing with y'all. Like, they're just going about your business. They're like, they can kill us with a switch of a tail.
Right.
So you just, you respect them. They respect you.
Respect their space.
That's right. And, you swim right next to them. I went in South Africa. I did where we call cage diving with great whites.
No, see, I'm not doing that,
Yeah,
Lisa. No, I know what you're talking about. You
They
got
put all
the
that chum
scuba
in the
gear
water,
on.
yeah.
They drop you down in the cage, and the great whites is like bang, bang. You did that?
Yeah, like 3 times, 3 different times to South Africa. Yeah.
You just rolling the dice on your life, Lisa.
No.
That's what you want. You just got the dice.
I
You in
rebuke
Vegas
that.
like
I
this.
rebuke that. Take it back.
No,
I am
don't.
divinely
Why would
protected.
you do that?
Because it's fun and it's not dangerous. Like, nobody's ever died from like, cage diving. The great white could never like chomp through a cage.
No.
It's it was crazy now. They
They
put all,
trying, aren't
yeah,
they?
oh yeah, 1000%. They're absolutely trying.
So when you scuba diving, do you know that, I'm like, let's just say you off the coast of South Africa, you scuba diving. Is that great white infested water or
Now,
you
yes,
don't know?
that is, but that's why you don't scuba dive off the coast of there's certain places where you can go.
Right.
But
Okay.
so the place that we went, we, rode a boat for an hour and they take you to like Great White Shark Alley. And that's where
That's what it's called?
Yeah. But you don't just go freestyling and go,
Right.
So you don't do that. And when you go to these certain other places to go diving with like nurse sharks, the place that they usually take you, the sharks are familiar with people because, they associate, they're around a lot. So the sharks really are accustomed generally to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not in South Africa on
No, not Great White Shark.
Great White Shark Alley. I didn't know that was a place.
Yeah, it's a real place. Yeah. It's a real
Where
place.
haven't you gone that's on your bucket list? Like, I have to go here.
All 4 places that I'm going to the rest of the year.
This is the rest of the bucket list right here.
Well, let's see. After that, I'll have to figure out some more places to go.
What you just do? You doing Coming to America now? You got to
Right.
go.
Well,
like Eddie Murphy, we go here.
Well, like for Korea was never on my bucket list.
Okay.
But that's the easiest way to get to Tibet. So I was like, well, I'm going to Tibet. I'm going to go through Seoul. I tried to go through India, but I couldn't really go through India just because the timing didn't work. So I reverse engineer my trips a lot. I'm like, okay, who flies into Tibet? Because not all carriers like fly into Tibet. So you go to the website to figure out which carriers do, and I reverse engineer my trip from that. So I could get there through Mumbai, I could get there through Seoul, I can get there through a couple other places. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, Seoul is cool. I've never been to South Korea. K-pop is a thing, so I was like, oh, I'll go to Seoul. So I'm doing like 2 days in Seoul. Tibet was just part of the, itinerary. I'm like, okay, so we'll do that. And who doesn't want to go like commune with the Dalai Lama?
That's true. That's very true.
Although he was like, recently accused of like tonguing a kid, but it's cool. We're not going down the Dalai Lama. We're not going down that.
We got respect for the Dalai Lama.
Right, we do. So okay?
We love you, Dalai Lama.
Yes, we really do.
Put you right here, right there where Lisa's sitting. Me and you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
About
so that. Yeah, but I had to say that as a disclaimer.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But Bhutan is that's in the Himalayas. Why you want to go to the Himalayas? Is it cold?
Not that the time of year that we're going is supposedly a really good time of year to go. So it's not, it's like 60s, 50s, 60s, so it's not that bad.
Okay. Because black people.
Oh, yeah, we are.
We don't like go nowhere cold. That's
now if I.
You probably like we don't. I don't know anybody except rich black people that are my friends that'll be like, oh, let's go spend New Year's Eve in Aspen. Nah,
nobody wants to go
there.
in Aspen.
It's cold.
It's cold.
Right. So why do I want to go to more cold from the cold?
Yeah.
We usually like to go to tropical.
Right. Exactly.
Black people be like, I need to see some blue water.
Yep. Exactly.
That's what we want to see.
That's what we going.
We're going to go to the beach.
Yeah.
We're going to go where the blue water is. It's nice and hot. We don't want to go up into the Himalayan mountains.
Well, we will, but it won't be too cold then.
All right, that's good. So what are your tips for people who want to travel?
In general?
Yeah, and see the world. Like you're seeing the world.
Well, first of all, I would say that my biggest thing I would say to people is don't wait for other people. If there is somewhere that you really want to go. If your friends don't want to go, I would say, just go. Because a lot of times that people don't do these things is because they're waiting for other people. Sometimes people don't want to go. Sometimes it might be out of their price range. The work, you can't get off work. There are various reasons why people, can't go. So I try and tell people solo traveling is so inspiring, and it's something that I think all people should do. You're on your own itinerary. You are getting your you can do whatever you want. You're by yourself. You'll make new friends. Like that's how I met I call them the boys. Like that's how I met the Brazilians, because I was by myself. And I would have been talking to my friend, and 9 times out of 10, I would have never have met them. They're amazing. I love them. Like I said, we've traveled to probably 20 places together. They came here for my birthday one year. I just went back there for, it was a milestone birthday. I went back there for his birthday. So you would just meet people you never would have otherwise met. So that's my first, I guess, tip is to just go. If you want to go, just figure it out and make it happen. That's the biggest thing.
I agree.
Second thing I would say is do not underestimate the power of points, meaning airline points, hotel points, frequent traveler points, whether it's like hotels.com, Expedia, whatever it is. try and sign up with, at least an airline. At least an airline, because you can cash those miles in. You can use them. Credit card points are amazing. It's often a way to defray your expenses once you get enough miles. So I put everything possible on my American Express so I can get those get those points and cash them in. And those points add up, You're not getting anything by using a debit card. That's why I tell people, like, don't use a debit card, especially not for big purchases, You're not getting any return on that. So the points are another big thing that I really recommend to people. And then, learning to manage that. When you travel places, there's a million different things that you can do to really get engrossed in the culture. Like I, hire this company, Tours by Locals, and that is, they have vetted local tourism people that they can take you around. They'll take photos. They'll take you to places off the beaten path, and they're local people. So you're also supporting the local economy, which is great, as opposed to some big, tourism company. And they vet these people, so that's really good. Right. So those are like, some really good tips that I would suggest.
I always find when I travel that the best food is not ever on the resort.
Oh yeah. I always
find somebody local.
Yeah.
And I always go, take me to where you
would
eat.
That's right. And it's oftentimes like not even somewhere that you will find, on TripAdvisor or Yelp or somewhere like that. If it's a restaurant that it's on like the main street and it's one of the highly popular restaurants, just go right off that beaten path. Just go down the street just a little bit, just off the beaten path, and you'll find local spots.
Yeah.
Where people.
And back to what you was talking about, traveling alone. I did that a couple of years ago. I decided to go somewhere to Aruba by myself. This is back when Sinbad was having his 70s Soul and Funk Festival.
Yes.
And I couldn't get anyone to go with me. And I just said, you know what? I'm going. Forget about it. I jumped on a plane. I booked my hotel room, and I went. And I met a friend now that's been my friend, one of my closest friends for 20-something years. Big up to Big Tom. I met him on that trip. I met a lot of other people on the trip just for being by myself.
That's right. And you probably would have never have met this person because you would have been engrossed in talking to your friend or whomever else that you were talking to, and you never would have met. Yeah. Like my life would be so different if I had never met the boys, like so completely different. There have been so many places that I would never have. Yeah. Well, I mean, or I would have had to go by myself or something.
And just by that fact that you're embracing other people when you're out.
Yeah.
When you're in a group of people, sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
Really where we want to eat. Yeah. We got to wait for everybody. I don't eat that. We can't go over there.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. So sometimes it's better. Like my wife and I met a couple in Las Vegas. We went to Vegas, and we met a couple just at, they had this ice bar in Vegas.
Yeah.
And when we came out of the ice bar, we were sitting in the other place, everybody's warming up, and just three couples just started chatting. And there was one couple there, and they were from Ireland and England, but they lived in England, and they were engaged, and they kept talking about getting married. So a lot of shots later, we were like, let's do it. Y'all should get, they were like, we were thinking about it. It was like, yo, let's get y'all married right now. And we went downstairs and we got a limo.
What?
And we stopped at the store and we got some champagne and we went to the Justice of the Peace, and I signed. And they got married. They got married right there. So they went home with the photographs, and their friends were like, is that Ed Lover? It was like, Ed Lover's your best man? How the hell did you get Ed Lover to be
That is crazy.
And it was like, hey, we just met him in Vegas.
I love that.
Just meet people. Yep. When you out, and especially, I will tell everybody at least one time in your life.
At least.
Go and don't just go to Miami or LA. Go out of the country by yourself.
Go out of the country.
Go out of the country. Even if you go for something that somebody else is doing, just go out of the country by yourself.
That's right.
You'd be surprised who you'll meet when you're out of the country.
And your life will change. Because people of other cultures, we view things through our ethnocentric lens, of course, right? Through American and through a black person's eye. And that because those are our experiences. But other people have such a different experience. And so it's wonderful. Like it opens your eyes, and really exposes our similarities as people, right? And opens us up to new ideas, new cultures, and really realizing we're just all the same at the core. We love our families. We love to travel. Whatever it is, we're like the same in so many instances. And then you already have that in common with that person. You know that person is traveling because you're a traveler and you met each other on a trip, so that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell everybody,
Yeah.
go out of the country, and if you can, take your children out of the country.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Take your children. I don't care if you
1000%.
go. I don't care where you go.
Yeah.
Take your kids out of the country. We got to take a break. We're going to take a little break. More with Miss Lisa Bonner right here. We're going to talk about her book when we come back. It's the Ed Lover Experience. This is Come On, Son, the podcast. Back with more Come On, Son, the podcast. My special guest this week is the fabulous Miss Lisa Bonner, world traveler, attorney, and author. Author of what?
The Legalities of Entrepreneurship. You forgot to add best-selling author.
The Legalities of Entrepreneurship. Best-selling author, Lisa Bonner. What made you decide to write that book?
I mean, when you talk about a labor of love, that's what really inspired me to write the book. Because as being in the field of law that I'm in, which is entertainment, transactional. Okay. I am not a litigator, so I help people, artists, studios, get music and television and film projects to the screen, right? And I help producers and music people get their stuff put out to the mainstream. I just realized that there are not a lot of people don't know how to start a business because there's so much information out there and you don't know what you don't know. And it's like, you can find it here. You can find some information here. You can find some information here. And I do help a lot of people start their own businesses, at least give them the information, send them to their CPA to get, figure out the best tax information. The best tax strategy for you. And then, so I just realized that a lot of people really needed the help and they don't know what they don't know. Now, also, it's very expensive to hire a lawyer, right? And so for a lot of people just starting out, this might be something that is out of their price range. So this is kind of like my gift to people, right?
Okay.
For $19.99, or sometimes it's on sale at Amazon, right? Even lower than that. And so for that price, you can get a whole primer from A to Z on how to start your own business. And the beauty of that is it's called the LegaliTEAs because I start you from A to Z on how to start your own business, from really like your business plan to the corporate structure that you might have, to funding, to hiring employees versus independent contractors, insurance, trademarking, copyrights, you name it, it's all in there. So between the chapters, the hardcore chapters, which are actually very easy to read, because that is one of my gifts, being able to break things into bite-sized pieces. So in between those legal chapters, I have what's called tea time, where I sit down with the reader and put it all into a first-person perspective, right? It's a narrative, war story, cautionary tales, ways to, really, things that from my experience, right, of things that could happen, did happen, narrow misses that I've avoided, or the way I've stayed above the fray for a particular chapter that's coming up. So if we're talking about employees, I'm giving you the skinny about, a cautionary tale that happened to me, which is actually really funny. Not funny, but it was a near miss. But,
Give it to me.
Well, I worked, it's a kind of a, yeah. All right, so I worked, when I was in L.A., I was about 13 years in, ready to move back to New York. And I was recruited by a lawyer named Mark Dreyer. He had a firm. He had 4 law firms over the country and was really starting this amazing law firm that he wanted to pay lawyers the way that they should be paid, which is salary and bonus, versus the way a lot of law firms pay, which is a draw, which is, hey, we'll advance you, let's say $100,000. You got to work that off. Then once you work that off, you get paid. But no. So, and hired the best and brightest from everybody. He recruited me. I was head of film and TV and a partner in the music practice. And it was great, moved me from LA to New York, got a big plush office on 59th and Park. And then a year to the date, he was convicted of, impersonating a Canadian pension fund manager and absconding with $450 million. Right. And this was right before Bernie Madoff and the Ponzi scheme.
Right.
So that was for about a week the biggest, news on.
So that was it for everybody.
So I was like, and I was a partner, but I was not a partner. I was a partner. I was an employee with a partner title.
Okay.
I was not a partner and none of us were. It was his own, which he was clearly knew what to do, so he would never implicate all of us.
Right.
But I was an employee with a partner title versus an employee versus a partner with a partner title.
Right.
An equity partner where I could have been held liable for his faults and malfeasance, even though I didn't really know anything about it.
Right.
So that's the intro, but there's a lot more juicy stuff in there. But yeah, so you can find a story on MSNBC. Greed.
$450 million.
Yeah. And like he bought his house. He had a house in the Hamptons, and then he bought the house next door to him so he could be his own next door neighbor. Like it was like crazy stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, he had like our offices had amazing artwork. He had a penthouse like in Columbus Circle. The shops at Columbus Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had
where
a penthouse
that
there.
hotel is. What's the name of that
Mandarin.
hotel?
Now,
Mandarin.
I used to live on the same street, but
he had a penthouse at the Mandarin Hotel.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I ain't had no penthouse at the Mandarin Hotel. I was in a regular midtown high rise.
On a midtown high rise down the street.
60th and Columbus,
Impersonating a Canadian. What was it? A
Canadian pension officer.
How the fuck he do that?
I don't know.
I put that under the category of only white people. That's the only white people can get away with shit like that.
Well, he is now in jail. So Harvard dedicated a class to him. Vanity Fair did a case study, and MSNBC covered him on a episode of American Greed.
Oh, he's on the. Oh, I gotta look up that. I love
Mark
American
Dreyer,
Greed.
Dreier.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah. And there's been several other articles written about him, but
right.
Yeah.
So what happened to you after that? After all of that? Everything was gone.
I had my own clients that I rolled in.
Okay.
So I took my own clients and I rolled them back out. And I was like, hey, y'all about to hear about this. I'm not involved in any of this.
Right.
And we're going to keep it pushing. And so I restarted my firm, which was Bonner Law PC that I had in L.A. I filed it in New York, where I still practice, where my office still is. And the rest was, history. I cooperated with, the bankruptcy trustee and the courts and gave them everything. But nobody had any knowledge of anything that he was doing, which he was, I guess we can thank him for that.
Yeah, he isolated himself and kept y'all out of it.
And then hired us all as employees. Yeah, but I really, that was a great year. I mean, So
you grew up in St. Louis, Missouri? Mm-hmm. And where did you go to college?
I started off at Boston College, and I graduated from University of Missouri Journalism School.
Whoa. How did a young lady from St. Louis, Missouri end up in Boston, Massachusetts? And what kind of culture shock is that?
Well, for me, okay, so my brother went to BC, but my brother and I are completely different. My brother is a total freaking nerd. Like, he's a nerd. He was a math major with a math and chemistry major. Mm-hmm. Like, he's that dude.
It's cool to be a nerd.
Right. He's the nerd, but he's cool. We have completely different social lives.
Okay.
But I went to a Sacred Heart school, which is the sister school of a Jesuit.
Right.
I was a Catholic girl. I went to Catholic schools for 90% of my life, and I was like, oh, my brother went there, and it's great, and I'll go. And can I curse?
Yes.
I fucking hated it.
Really?
I fucking hated every fucking second of it.
What
the white people, and listen, I love white people. I love all people. Let me just be clear. I don't like small-minded provincial anybody, black, white, yellow. And they had a bunch of small town provincial white folks. Like 80% of the population was from a 50-mile radius of Boston. At the time, there had been people who had never seen a black person in real life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you kind of see where New Edition comes from, that Roxbury, black
the
side.
Roxbury, Jamaica Plains, and Mattapan, they were like all like...
Yeah, it's a foreign land to them.
Completely, and I lived in Chestnut Hill amongst all the white people, and then I had white people that would come up to me and talk jive and yo, what's up? And I was like, you know what? I'm about to steal you in your face. Like that, so... Yeah, it was just a lot, and then my next door neighbor, the guy who used to speak jive to me, was a bass head. This was before the crack epidemic, but, huh?
Yeah, what does jive sound like?
Yo, what's up? How you doing? Like,
Trying to put on
be
the
black. Like this,
black
you know,
shit
like, yeah.
when
And
they
I was
not
like,
really on
who
that.
are you talking to?
Just
I don't
because
even,
they talking to you.
Right. And I'm like, I don't
That's
even speak
jive.
like that. And you're a basehead. You're freaking cooking coke next door to me. You know, and this is like, no, it's like a fact.
So needless to say, you
I
got
was like,
up out
let
of
me
there.
get, and well, I was going to stay because I was like, whatever. But then when I decided to declare my major, I wanted to be a sociology major. My mom was like, you will never make any money. And I know you. So that's a no.
Right.
Then there were a couple of English. My mom was like, what the fuck you going to do with an English major? I was like, I don't know. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a journalism major. I can write my ass off. So then I was like, they don't have a journalism program. So it was either switch to BU,
Right.
which had a great journalism program, or go to Mizzou, which is even better journalism program and is right in my backyard.
Okay.
And so I switched to Mizzou and went to their J school.
Okay.
And that was great.
So how'd you go from journalism to law?
Now here's another, well, then I was like, okay, this is crazy. All right. Once I was about to graduate from college and I realized, like, I started interviewing and I was like, I'm about to go to Paducah, Kentucky and make like $12. I was like, I don't want to do that. As a journalist, like working in the off market, I'm just like, did not want to do that. Even though I switched schools to be a journalism major, right? So then I had some friends that were like, oh my God, they were investment bankers. And I was like, y'all have a great life. And they was like, yeah, you should try it. You should throw your hat in the ring. I was like, I don't even know numbers. I suck at math. And they were like, who cares? They want a liberal arts major. I was like, okay. So I threw my hat in the ring and got an offer from Payne Weber and from Lehman, both of which are now defunct, but were very, very amazingly good investment banks.
Right.
And so I took a job at investment banking and used my journalism degree, ironically, because like I didn't do numbers. So they were right about that. But I would interpret the data that they would get for the RFPs, and I would, kind of like write the RFPs for the Yeah. So then I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life, and I would literally sleep at the printers because you had to take and deliver the RFP by hand. There was no email at the time. I'm dating myself completely, but I would like sleep at the printer, go home, take a shower, change, hop on a plane, and go deliver the RFP, get on a plane, come back. Now the bond lawyers were gone like at 10 o'clock. And I was like, oh my God, they have a great life. That was what I was saying. They got a freaking great life. And here I am at 6 a.m. still waiting for this stuff to print off. I was like, oh, let me look into going to law school. And that's what I did.
Really? Because the bond lawyers was out of there and your ass was still
I'm not the struggle girl. I am not the struggle. Like, my mother knew me. She was like, no, can't do it. You're not going to make any money. So she knew. She knows her child. So, yes, I was like, they got a good life. Let me at least look into being a lawyer.
Right.
And then I did.
Would you take political science or nothing? You just went from...
I didn't take any classes.
Straight to law school?
Law school don't care about that. They care about your writing. They care about your LSATs. And they care... Now, I don't know what they care about these days because everything, and they're about to do away with the LSATs. Or something. Anyway, back in the day, they really they cared about your work. They would prefer... that, you had gone, to at NYU, at least they preferred that you had some work experience, which I did a couple years at a very great, prestigious Wall Street law firm. I had, good grades and I had, I tested well. I was like, throw my hat in the ring. There we go.
And how long did it take before you got your law degree? Straight 4 years?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, it's only 3 years.
And where'd you pass the bar at? New York?
I am licensed in 2 jurisdictions. California was the first. I took that, and it was a 3-day bar, which is the hardest in the country. Okay. Coming from a New York law school, and I must say, I passed on the first try.
Yes, girl, go girl.
Come on, son. What do you think?
Killed on the
and
first
so
go
then,
round?
yeah, and then when I was in New York, I got licensed there.
Okay. And California's harder than New York?
California is traditionally known as the hardest, most difficult bar in the country.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it'll take you
Google it.
3 days to go through that.
Yep.
Matter of fact, while we're talking about it, congratulations to Dr. Dre's daughter, Angelique, just passed the bar exam in New York City.
Oh, well, hey, congratulations.
Congratulations
That's
to
right.
her. Yeah,
that's good.
Beautiful.
I love it. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now we can hire her. Go take care of this for Daddy and your Uncle Ed.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was how I got into law.
That's quite a journey, Lisa.
I know. It's a very roundabout. But the good thing is, even though I didn't traditionally practiced journalism. When I got, it served me well. When I got into law school, I know how to write. I mean, I knew how to write my ass off. When I started, writing for, as a journalist later on in life, like I've written for major publications, both about travel and about pop culture, politics, all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I see you popping up in the political arena a lot lately.
I'm popping. I got something to say. You know me, Ed. You know Lisa Bonner always gonna have an opinion. I always got something to say. But I speak truth. I speak truth to power. Like we about to get into it with Donald Trump and his 91 indictments. Well, this is gonna be a whole interesting election cycle.
You know what kind of pissed me off about that, which I didn't understand. I think I heard somebody bring it up the other day.
Tell me.
Why was he able to go in, post bond early, and spend about a half an hour, and a lot of the money that was spent were taxpayers' dollars from Atlanta, bringing his ass from Hartsfield? Why wasn't he treated like anybody else? If I would have got arrested, even if I'd have turned myself in, I have to sit and wait for my bond hearing.
Because no matter what happens, he will always have Secret Service protection for life.
Well, then I understand that because Obama has, and so does all other, Jimmy Carter, all of them have it. I get that. But what does that have to do with the Atlanta PD giving him a motorcade? Let the Secret Service do it.
Well, that was probably the Secret Service did have it was their Secret Service motorcade. But also, I would venture to say, now I don't know that it's Fonnie Willis in the city of Atlanta who was prosecuting him.
Yes.
So I would assume that they were working together. I agree with you. Like, listen, it's our taxpayers' money, but
Young Thug, YSL, Polo, all of them got RICO counts against them.
But they have never been president.
So why is he getting special treatment? Do you get special treatment?
Yeah, you do.
I remember one time he said, I could shoot somebody in the middle of the street and y'all will vote for me.
Like, no doubt about it. He's a complete piece of shit. But that he is the president. He was the president. He was the worst president.
So it doesn't matter what a president would do. They would get the same exact treatment.
I think if he venture to say he will get convicted on one of these 91 counts, if not many more, because of his own. So the issue is going to be what to do with a former president who is convicted. Like, how do you house a president who is convicted?
Because he gets Secret Service. Yeah. But once you get convicted, that should be all gone. It's not?
I don't think it is. No,
it's
Secret Service for life,
Right.
I don't think there was a carve out for, you lose that protection if you were
convicted of a
felon, like I don't think so. None of this stuff was contemplated. Think about it. We cannot, in certain states, the felonies, an ex-convict does not have the right to vote.
Right.
But someone who has been indicted on 91 counts does. They can not only vote, but they can run for president.
Right.
Because you're
and
innocent.
And still the front runner of the Republican Party as we speak.
That's because the stupid ass American public
will buy anything.
Yeah.
And
speaking of travel, we are the freaking laughingstock and have been since 2015 of the world.
Really?
Yes. Because people want to know like how this stuff happens. Like nobody can believe it. Nobody can.
I can hardly believe it.
Yeah. And so imagine how we look to the rest of the world. Like we look crazy. Like people all over like Trump. They're like, oh my God.
And every time it becomes a little more less respect for Americans and American people because now they look at us like we're completely idiots.
Complete idiots.
And it used to be the place that they wanted to come to. To try to better themselves. Now they're looking at that where they live at like. That's what's happening in the United States. Y'all are stupid.
Yeah. I mean, capitalism and American life has its benefits, but it has its drawbacks. Like, I talked to my friends, like, we were having a conversation when I was in Rio with one of my friends who lives in Luxembourg, and she's like, nobody can believe, like, the price of drugs. Nobody can believe, prescription drugs.
Right.
Like the fact that it costs, us $1 trillion to have health insurance per month. And the fact on the top of that, we have outrageous deductibles. Then we have to pay a copay for our drugs if it's covered.
Right.
If it's not, you're coming out, $200, $300, $400, $600, $1,200 for a drug. Like people cannot believe that we actually live like that.
Right.
But then they pay.
And it's all subsidized by the United States government.
Yeah.
Who we also pay taxes to.
But the trade-off sometimes is we see as Americans we want our cake and eat it too. We don't want to pay the higher taxes to have universal health care.
Right.
But we also don't want to pay this. So we need. It's hard to reconcile, the taxes that we do pay into the fact that we don't have universal health care. Mm-hmm. And then the Republicans wanted, Obamacare or the Affordable Health Care Act came in and they completely, dragged us for that.
Right.
And it's like, oh, well, but it's so important that people have health care. But why would the Republicans want to take away a basic human right that we are entitled to? Why are they trying to and have been trying to remove health care? Why is it the fact that a man who has never had a period, who has never carried a baby, can tell us what to do with our bodies? Would you want me to tell you to get a freaking vasectomy? Would you want me to tell you that? Would you want me to tell you what you can and cannot do?
No.
So if they're going to do that, if they're going to tell us that we need to carry a baby, then start making that man pay for mandate that you all are starting to cover my baby in the womb.
That's right.
From inception. When that baby's a fetus, then that baby needs to be covered.
Right.
Give me health care for that.
But the funny thing is, black women don't understand that it's not about black women not having abortions. It's about white women not having abortions.
White women, that's what,
they have more abortions
they do,
than any other.
but you do know what most of this is about, right?
Yeah, trying to protect and
get the numbers,
the
numbers
white
of the white race up.
Because they're losing right
exactly
now.
Right.
The more black people, Latinos come out and the more people of color come together that don't have anything, they bond together more.
It doesn't matter because it's going to be all brown kids in a minute anyway because their white babies are going to marry somebody black.
That's right.
And we're all going to be the same.
We're all going to be mulattoes. So you might as well get used to it.
Get used to it and do all you want to. But that's probably one of the main reasons why they will probably lose this election again.
Republicans?
Mm-hmm, I would venture to say, listen, you piss off. White women traditionally vote in line with their husbands.
Absolutely.
1,000% it is noted. This is not conjecture. This is a fact. But when they are getting in there and they are realizing that we don't have the right to terminate a pregnancy and my life is potentially at risk.
Right.
And I cannot, if I spontaneously miscarry.
Even in cases.
Of rape, incest, and the life of the mother.
Incest, yeah, that's crazy.
And I can spontaneously abort. Then I can go to jail.
Right.
Because I'm going to have the cops looking into whether I threw myself down the steps or if I'm going to have to carry a baby to term who has encephalitis. That's what it is. Baby who has water on the brain or any of those things where the baby cannot survive. But I'm going to have to carry the baby to term for that. No matter that. Half the time these fetuses aren't viable. They release toxins into the bloodstream of the mother. The woman gets sepsis and then can potentially die. So you're telling me that in order to get pregnant, that I would have to subject myself to that? No, thank you.
Yeah.
So go and snip your own penis.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Snip your own penis.
Snip your tubes.
Yeah, and once they do that, and once they can mandate that, start with the step. We don't get pregnant by ourselves. It takes two people. You need to have a sperm released to fertilize an egg.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the source. Snip your own tubes.
Yeah, but they're not gonna do that.
No, they're not. So don't tell me what to do with my womb.
That ain't gonna happen.
Stay out of it.
Yeah, and I got daughters. I don't want nobody to tell my daughters.
No, and I hate to say your daughters, but I would have to personalize this. Okay, you live in Georgia.
Yeah.
If your daughters get pregnant, they don't want their baby, you cannot have an abortion here after 6 weeks?
Wow.
You don't even know that most women don't even know they're pregnant
right
at 6 weeks. So what are you going to do? Like, that's the thing that people need to realize in Georgia, which is a swing state. If you have a child, if you or your daughter gets pregnant, you have 6 weeks to have an abortion. If not, you are stuck with that baby.
Wow.
And try go out of state to have an abortion.
That's illegal too, huh?
They are trying to really make it so.
Wow.
In Texas, they are, So I'm saying, like, these are things. And
is it just the amount of every damn body vying to be the president of the United States? Because it seems like the Florida governor, DeSantis, the Satanist, I call him, is trying to do the worst things he can do. The governor of Georgia is trying to do. It seems like everybody got their eye on that one thing.
Yeah.
Let me try to out conservative the next person. So
now, the one thing I can say about Kemp, I'm not a Kemp supporter. But Kemp is no way by any stretch of the imagination as bad as the rest of them. I mean, it's terrible to say. I mean, but you have to measure them on a continuum, right? Who's the worst of the worst.
Right.
And DeSantis, he's never going to make it. He's done pissed off everybody. He done pissed off, the gays.
Yeah.
You got that gay mafia, like they're not having it. No. So you done pissed off kids, transgender kids, kids of voting age.
Pissed off the Latino population
yes,
in Florida. They left.
Right. It's like everybody. Like you have made enemies out of it. Who do you like? Who does DeSantis like? White people?
Yeah.
That's it?
They can't carry the vote by themselves.
No. Not in Florida.
Nope. Nowhere.
Not anywhere, but certainly not in Florida. And lily white. That's it. White, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, straight. Male. Correct. Male.
It's all about
male,
white male.
Right. White male, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. Like
Right.
that's it. Straight.
Right.
Straight.
Did you see the guy at the Trump rally with the shirt that said "niggas for Trump"?
I did not. Well, you see what happened to the last nigga that was for Trump. His ass still sitting in jail, talking about you can't pay your bond. Good. See what happens when you flip sides like that? You can't pay your bond. And he had a prior. He should have thought about that.
He had a prior too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's going to jail.
Oh, yeah. They were
And
like,
you see what happened to the Proud Boys. Lisa Bonnet,
22 years.
can you tell everybody the name of the book again, please?
It's called The Legalities of Entrepreneurship.
Buy this book. Will you please come back?
I will.
Next time you come, we
back.
ain't going to talk number politics.
Oh, I will.
All right,
please
bet.
have me back to
All
talk
right,
about
bet,
politics.
Bet. Yo, Lisa is amazing. This has been Come On Son, the podcast, The Legalities of Entrepreneurship by Lisa Bonnet, Esquire, okay? 3-day California bond passer on the first go-round. You heard it right here on Come On Son, the podcast. Keep God first. Everything else will fall into place. I'll talk at you, with you, to you, and about you next week. Take care of yourselves. This is Come On Son, the podcast. Now get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Peace, y'all.